All right, y'all. What's up? What's good with y'all? Welcome back into the Be More Show. Before we get started, look, I gotta tell y'all this. The Baltimore Ravens, we talked about familiar foes. The last time the Baltimore Ravens played the Cincinnati Bengals, it was not pretty. No one wants to go back and watch this game. No one wants to go back and review this game because it was just not pretty at all. 5 turnovers, that don't help you. Big plays by the Bengals. Joe Burrow came back and he looked in tip-top shape, right? He looked in tip-top shape as have most quarterbacks have against this defense. But look, I feel like the best way to look into a loss or to look ahead into a game is we got to look at the loss. We got to see what happened. We got to look at the root of the problem and see what happened in that game and what caused the Baltimore Ravens to lose and how they can win, because the Ravens are in win now mode, right? The Ravens are in must win mode. If they want the division, definitely must win. If they want a playoff spot, definitely must win. They have to win this week. And after what we just saw from the Bengals against the Ravens specifically, I don't know, man. It sounds like an uphill climb. Look, y'all, get your popcorn, get your drink. This is the Be More Show. Let's talk. Let's do it. All right, y'all. Welcome in to the Be More Show. Look, we got to preview this Baltimore Ravens Cincinnati Bengals game. The rematch from what, 2 weeks ago now? Right? 2 weeks ago now. It was Thursday night. It was a short week. I was feeling pretty good going into it. And, at that time, Joe Burrow was kind of up in the air. Who knows? Right? I was kind of excited to see Joe Flacco versus, Lamar again. Joe Flacco, of course, played he during his time with the Bengals played very, very well. So I was kind of excited to see, what they were going to do. But we didn't get that. We got Joe Burrow. It was a Joe Burrow return game, and Joe Burrow looked like Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow looked like he had not missed a beat. It looked like he just played the week before. It did not look like he had been out for a couple months. It just didn't. It just didn't. So what happened, right? Number one, the defense, they didn't look nearly as good. And turnovers always seem to play a key role, especially with the Baltimore Ravens and the timing of them, the turnovers. That was a problem too. But look, I feel like, kind of like I said in the intro, but I'll say it once again. I feel like for the Baltimore Ravens and going into this matchup, a big key matchup, the best way to look at a game that against an opponent that you really just saw is to go back and look at the loss that we saw a couple weeks ago. And I know none of us want to do that. None of us want to think about that. But look, we got to. What's up? How you doing? Appreciate you for coming by. As always, share the video with your friends. Appreciate you for hanging out. You a Ravens fan? You a Bengals fan? Let me know. Let me know. Hang out with us in the live chat. But look, y'all. Look. First things first, we got to talk about the turnovers. We have to talk about the turnovers, right? We have to talk about the turnovers because that was the biggest thing in that game. The Ravens could not get out of their own way. Even when they finally found a little bit of momentum, the Ravens could not get out of their own way. I appreciate that. Juan, look, they just couldn't. They could not get out their own way. And I think that was the problem. I think that was part of the problem because even when the Ravens started to get a little bit of momentum, right, they tried to get a little bit going. It just, nothing came out of it, right? Nothing came out of it when they finally got things going. We talking about the likely fumble. We talking about just, you moving the ball down the field and then, you just turn the football over. Even the turnover that I think ended up being returned for a touchdown, the fumble by Lamar. It's like the timing of it. That's, turnovers are horrible anyway. To lose a turnover battle, you're probably not winning the football game. But if you lose a turnover battle and you turn the football over at the worst possible times, I mean, that's a recipe for disaster. So, look, first things first. Joe Burrow has to be contained. He has to be contained. Look, he has to be contained. Shout out to this lovely lady. Shout out. I appreciate that. Look, I appreciate that. You as well. Is it Juanisa? Shout out to you. Look, but let me do this real quick. So it was such a frustrating game because of the turnovers, right? And I feel like when you look back at the stats, I feel like the Ravens not only lost the turnover battle, but the defense didn't play well either, right? The defense didn't play well either. They just didn't. The defense we've seen kind of slow down guys like Matthew Stafford, right, in previous weeks. They just didn't play well, right? They let Joe Burrow come in and just completely knock them around. They let this offense and this offensive line just run over them. And I just don't get it. Now, I think, honestly, a lot of the biggest problems for the Ravens defense in this game was I think they was doing too much, right? Can we be honest? Because we talked about this before. The Ravens have a history of being a team that likes to be creative, right? They like to be unique, right? They like to show one look, send another, right? And there was a play specifically. We remember the Roquan Smith play where he had to go and chase the tight end from the line of scrimmage. And Roquan Smith, he's getting older. He's not as fast as he used to be. That's a tough ask for Roquan Smith in his prime, coming straight out of college or something. That's a tough ask for him. That just is, right? So for that, I just think the Ravens can't get too cute on defense. I honestly feel like schematically, I feel like talent-wise, they have all the talent to do all these little stunts and what they want to do. But I feel like Zach Orr is not a good enough coach to sit around trying to be too creative on defense. Certain blitzes, yeah, but things that make sense, I think have to happen. You cannot put Roquan Smith on an island. I think that was a touchdown that created a 2-possession deficit, right? And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong about this, but if I'm not mistaken, I'm almost certain the Ravens went right back down the field, and this was the Isaiah Likely fumble, if I'm not mistaken, right? It was just everything it just came tumbling down. Everything just went from bad to worse for the Ravens. I'm trying to remember because I think the Ravens even had a couple of turnovers forced on defense. But the offense didn't really put them in the most advantageous positions. Let me look real quick. So, 1 interception and 4 fumbles lost, and then the Ravens had that fumble. And I'm pretty sure it's the newly paid man Travis Jones who ended up getting that fumble. And it felt like the defense. Honestly, I feel like the defense played well, but there was just times where the defense did things that just didn't make sense, and some of it was just trying to be too creative. So I think realistically, I think they got to slow it down, right? I think they got to slow it down. Go back to what Go back to what was working. What was working before that game? And people can talk about the opponents that the Ravens played before that all you want to, but before that game, all they did was simplify the defense. I talked about this time and time again on the show. They simplified the defense. Just simplify it down. Slow it down a little bit, right? Go back to what the basics are. The basics are always going to work. So slow it down and, once again, play these strengths. Offensively, stop turning the football over, right? Stop turning the football over. Let me look at the third down efficiency. 3 of 10 in third down efficiency, right, for the Ravens offense. The Bengals were 8 for 19, so they weren't great, but 8 for 19, and then 1 for 2 on fourth down efficiency. But it's just the Ravens' third down efficiency is awful right now. And I know I think Bateman is questionable, so that's never good. But my real curiosity is what they're going to do at offensive line, because I think if they fix this offensive line, some strides can be made. But I just think right now, until they fix his offensive line, it's just going to be more on Lamar to make incredible plays behind a bad line right now. So, and I think it's tough, and I think honestly the Bengals had a pretty good blueprint. Honestly, you could say that. The Bengals probably had the best defensive blueprint considering how this defense was ranked going into this game. The defense probably had the best blueprint to stop Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Especially, at the time coming in, the Ravens had just won 4 straight, and now they lost 2 straight. So look, it's just crazy. I don't get it. Look, I'll see you later. I appreciate you coming by. I hope you subscribed if you want. Yeah, you should be on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button for me. Come on back. We can hang out again. But look, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm a little bit frustrated because, of course, you dropped 2 straight in the division which is the worst times to drop it. And although the Isaiah Likely was a catch, right? Although Isaiah Likely was a catch, that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. It wasn't ruled a catch, and you lost the game. So it don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. You had other opportunities to finish that game off, and you didn't, right? You had other opportunities to make things work, and you didn't in that game. So, I mean, you gotta try to make a run on the back half of this season. I'm trying to remember who all you got, right? I know you got the Bengals. I know you got the Patriots. 4 more games left: Bengals, Patriots, Steelers, and I'm missing one more. I'm missing the last one. I can't remember who it is. I know it's a tough matchup though. Real quick, let me look at it. But I think the Ravens should win it. I think the Ravens can win this game, and I don't see the Ravens being swept by the Bengals. But it is a little annoying. Oh yeah, Packers is a tough one too. But I mean, it is a little bit annoying. Like to lose the last 2 divisional games, those hurt, right? Those hurt, and then when it comes down to it, right now the Steelers have the tiebreaker, and you lost 2 within the division. So it's like it could come back to bite you in the end. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But also, real quick, in other news, Travis Jones was extended, which I think I'm okay with that. It's kind of interesting because you just extended Matabike, and then you turned around and extended Travis Jones. I don't know how I feel about it because I'm happy about the extension, but I'm still sitting here thinking there's got to be more you can do, right? There's got to be more you can do. I mean, obviously, there's no pass rush for this team right now. Honestly, I felt like Draymond Jones has played pretty well, right? Draymond Jones has played pretty well throughout this season, better than I thought he has. I don't feel like, I feel like it's kind of the problem with many pass rushes the Ravens end up getting, but it doesn't feel like he finishes the play in terms of like they end up escaping past him. And that was kind of the problem with like Yannick Ngakoue and other guys in the past too, is like, they never really finished the play. We never had the sack numbers. It was always just like, okay, we got pressures, right? We may force an air throw here or there, but the sack numbers was never up. So I think that's another issue too. It's like, okay, you got your 2 interior linemen locked in, but what you gonna do about pass rusher? What you gonna do about pass rusher? Because some of your biggest holes right now is an elite pass rusher, at least one, right? An elite pass rusher, at least one elite pass rusher, and I think the other guys could fit in if there was a really good elite pass rusher that you have to double team. You don't have to double team anybody on this team defensively, but I also think too, of course, offensive line, right? For an offensive line that was supposed to be rebuilt a couple years ago, the rebuild didn't work, right? The rebuild completely destroyed the foundation because, and honestly, like, I'm cool with Ronnie and I'm cool with Linderbaum. I think the other 3 is my biggest problem. And you think back to a John Simpson, right? You think back to a Kevin Zeitler and how just consistent they were, right? How consistent they were in protecting Lamar. And it makes you think back, man, and you kind of like we might have had it better back then, right? I mean, well, we definitely had it better back then. So, it's kind of interesting, and I honestly, I know the Ravens just signed an O-lineman. I'm trying to remember what his name is, but I think he played for like the Texans, if I'm not mistaken. They had just signed an O-lineman. What was his name? Let me see if I can remember who it was. So I'll be curious to see if he has an impact. Let me see where he is now. But I could have swore I saw they had signed an offensive lineman. I mean, maybe they were playing on my emotions, but I don't. I mean, I think something's got to give though. Like something has to give for this offensive line. It's just it's not good, and I would love to see some of these other guys. Corey Bullock, that was his name, Corey Bullock, which a center by trade, but honestly. I shouldn't say this. I need to be nice. Honestly, I think I could play better right guard than Faalele could, right? Like, I could bulk up a little bit and play better right guard than Faalele can right now. Like, Faalele is awful. He is mincemeat. He has to go. Like, He has to go. And he's in a contract year, and it don't really matter. He in a contract year, and this might be his last meaningful football he ever plays in his career. I think Falei's career is over, and for lack of a better term, and I know I need to be nicer on the show, should be over. But I would love to see Corey Bullock, take some snaps. I don't understand the Emory Jones Jr. problem that's going on. I know Ben Cleveland is suspended for 3 games. Which I don't even understand. Like, this team don't even make sense to me. Like, maybe I'm just venting at this point, but this team don't even make sense to me. Like, Ben Cleveland hasn't played all year long, hasn't shown any strides, but somehow he's suspended for PEDs. Like, this team is a complete train wreck right now. How is your backup guard, who has started some meaningful football for you in the past, how is he suspended for? I don't know. How is he suspended for PEDs? Obviously, at least if you're gonna get suspended, you gotta show some meaningful practice reps, some meaningful reps on tape or something. What is going on? Like, what is wrong with this team? Like, this team is the upside down right now, right? Like, this is crazy. I don't get it. Like that, when that came across my timeline, I said, what? How is Ben Cleveland suspended? He's done nothing. I just don't get it. And I mean, like, we talked about this. And I was talking to a coworker of mine, and we talking about the Mark Andrews extension. And I was kind of, I was kind of surprised. Like, why would you go with Likely? I wouldn't be surprised if they keep both of them. But I feel like, the Ravens are loyal to a fault, right? The Ravens are loyal to a fault. And a lot of times they are loyal to you far past the time they need to be. And I love loyalty, but it's just this offensive line, the 5 we got lined up, I'm just not feeling it, man. I mean, we'll talk about it later on, maybe after the Bengals game. But I just feel like something's got to give, right? There's no way they're going to trot these 5 guys out throughout the rest of the season. There's no way they're trying to make a run and they're still trotting Daniel Faalele out there. I'm sorry. Like, and I'm not saying Voorhees has been great either. I'm not saying Rosengarten has been great either, but I think the cog in the wheel, I think the thing that's truly stopping the Baltimore Ravens offense from being as good as it can be is Daniel Faalele and his inability to block almost anything. The guy got to be blocking Johnson at this point, because I don't see anybody he's blocking. I don't see anybody this man blocks. So look, and I think we're all frustrated at Faalele right now, but I think we're more frustrated at the fact that you can fumble the football and not see the light of day, but you can miss block after block after block. You can give up a sack, and I know this was probably technically not right, but you can give up a sack on a 4-man rush with 5 guys to block in, or 6 guys to block, and there's no changes made. Look, I don't get it. I don't understand, right? Like, Harbaugh is supposed to be this rough and rugged, old school coach, right? You do something wrong, I yank you out for a little bit, we have a conversation, and you go back and you be better. And he's not giving me that right now. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think he's given that in a while. I think it's crazy. I think he gives that in positions where there's probably more potential there. Daniel Faalele's potential is floor low. Like, it's just not. There's not a lot there. There's not a lot left there, right? I really think after this season, I think his career is over in the NFL. There's no way people are going to take a chance on that, right? Like, I mean, I guess he has the build, and I guess there's potential there. But what he's shown on tape, I mean, he's not an NFL caliber guy. It's just not there. It's not there. So I just think it's crazy, man. Like, I think it's crazy that Bateman could drop a ball and not see the field for a whole quarter, but or Derrick Henry could fumble and not see, not see the field for multiple possessions, but Faalele can't block anybody. Some of these other offensive linemen are missing every block, getting our quarterback hurt, and there's no changes to be made. Everything is completely fine. I just don't get it. Maybe I do need a venting session. Maybe I need that should be a part of the show at this point, a venting session. But anyway, look, I think the Ravens got me out here venting. But look, let's go back to the topic at hand. Ravens, Bengals, once again, let's wrap it up. How did they win? And let me know down below what you guys think. How did the Ravens win this game? Right? After losing this game a couple weeks ago, how did they win? I think it comes down to turnovers. It just does. Like, the Ravens can move the football down the field, but turnovers is the biggest issue. And whatever their third down efficiency problem is, because, like, when I watch this team, I feel like this feels like the Ravens of a couple of years ago in the passing game, right? Where the protection's bad, nobody's open, and the run game ain't working, right? Which I think goes back to offensive line more than anything, right? I think that goes back to offensive line more than anything. But I think at the same time, like, I feel like there's a lot of times where guys just aren't open, guys just aren't available. And when you gotta pivot and dip and move and do the hokey pokey to get yourself out of the darn pocket, I mean, you're gonna make some mistakes. But I will be curious to see, because in the game against the Steelers, we kind of heard Lamar was giving Faalele an earful, right? Which I think is good, right? I think it's good. I think Lamar is probably fed up with Daniel Faalele stepping on him all the time. Lamar doesn't seem like a rah-rah guy by any means, but I think Lamar wants to do nothing but win. Like, I think that, nothing but win, and more than he already has, right? Nothing but win Super Bowls, right? Multiple. I don't think he'd be content with one, right? But I think, like, he sees the writing on the wall that Faalele in front of me is not going to work. And and this goes back to quarterback head coach relationship, and it makes me question sometimes Harbaugh and Lamar's relationship, because if my quarterback was, my superstar quarterback, my MVP quarterback was telling one of my offensive linemen, hey, what's going on? Like, he's showing leadership by getting in his face and saying, hey, like, what's going on here? Right? Like, you got to be better, right? In the same way that you would hope that some other guys would hold Lamar accountable to if he's not being good, right? Or at least, like, pick your guy up, right? Like, I would expect the change to be made, but I've heard nothing. The depth chart looks the same. And I can't trust those five guys up front. Not in tandem, right? Not in tandem. And like I said, I'm not talking about Linderbaum. I'm not talking about Stanley. Honestly, I think it's the two guards more than anything. But like I said, I think it's Faalele more, like, above all. Above all, I think it's Faalele. I just do. We'll talk more about that later. We will. But look, y'all, I definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. Let me know down below what you think. Are the Baltimore Ravens going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, or is it over? Is it done? Is it, do we need to throw in the towel right now? Right? Like, who knows? Do we need to get ready for? Well, I was gonna say another good draft pick, but I don't even. We'll talk about that later too. But look, y'all, I definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'm gonna see you guys on the next episode of the Be More Show. Appreciate y'all for coming by. For my live viewers, I appreciate y'all. Juanisa. Well, I appreciate you, man. As always, Grayson, I appreciate you as well. I didn't get a chance to shout you out, but I appreciate you. You guys and my wife, I appreciate you as well. Look, we got to get up out of here. Because I appreciate y'all for hanging out with me. We had a lot of fun. But look, I'll see you guys on the next episode of the Be More Show. Until next time.